So if any of you know where I can get a new body, inbox me. Seriously. Because the one I have has about had it. At any rate, let's get back to the point that I was trying to make before my girlfriend called. Actually, I have been hanging out again with one of my old friends. That is what fills my day. Besides gardening and cleaning the house and doing all that shit. We have a great time together. So that's a positive thing that's happened in my life. On the negative side, my sister in May decided to pack up and leave for Florida. Let's go back a little bit further and I'll explain to you why. It turns out that my ex, who beat the shit out of me, had a friend that lives, or sometimes lives, next door to me. Well, after Valentine's Day of this year, he comes over here and my sister comes over here. A week later, they're dating. And believe me when I say he is as crazy as, if not more so than, my ex. I told her from day one it was a bad idea. So for the past 4 months, my entire family has gone round and round with her about this guy. Everyone talks about how weird he is, how crazy he is, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm more of to each his own. I said it once, that's all I needed to say it, was that the motherfucker's crazy. What you glean off of that, any advice that I give you, that is for you to roll with. You do what you want with my advice. Take it, leave it, whatever. I'm not going to repeat myself over anything. Least of all, a man. Or relationship advice. I tell you something once, roll with it. At any rate, they decided to take off to Florida spontaneously. She tells me about it one day, the next day she's gone. So she spends 3 weeks in Florida. While she's down there, the last week she was down there, this guy beats the hell out of her. Her boyfriend, mind you, who just happens to be friends with my ex. He beats the hell out of her. Goes to jail. She has to go to all these court cases and all this shit down there. So she tells me she's done with him. Permanently and for good. Then she gets a job in Iowa, which she does not go to. And she gets another job in Virginia. So, on the day that her boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend I suppose by this time, gets out of jail, she is on her way to Virginia to the other job. So my entire family and I think, no. Apparently, even though she told me she was done with him, she gets him, picks him up, and they exchange driving times on the 8-hour trip that it takes to get to Virginia. By this time, none of us knew about it. None of us knew anything that was going on, just that she was in Virginia. She went straight to Virginia. Well, I knew something was wrong when she was supposed to stop by here on her way to Virginia, and she didn't do it. My intuition just told me that something was wrong. And of course, it was. So, in the meantime, she sends me photographs of the bruises that she had from him beating the shit out of her. And suddenly, at the beginning of last week, she comes up missing. Nobody hears from her for 3 days. So my mother and I file a missing persons report on her, which extends from Florida to Virginia. Come to find out, she had gotten pulled over the last day that anyone had heard from her by a police officer and received a DUI in what was almost Washington, D.C. 10 miles outside of Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America, which, by the way, is located at the top of Virginia. So after that, nobody hears from her. We file a missing persons report. Then suddenly she decides to contact me 4 days later and asks me why we filed a missing persons report. Well, that should be obvious. You were a missing person. So, I know, or knew at that point in time, that she was still talking to that guy. I did not know that she was with him, which later was confirmed that she was. But at that point in time, I did not know. So suddenly, she's texting me, and it does not sound like her in the text. And I knew that it was him texting me. So I texted and told her that if she was with him again, that I would never speak to her again. She texts back and tells me that the last time she saw him was when his bus dropped him off in Virginia. And the only reason that that had happened was because she wanted to know why he beat the hell out of her, and she wanted to obviously confront him face to face. I said, honey, that's some shit you can do over the fucking telephone. If somebody beats the hell out of me, I do not want to see them at all. I want them out of my life permanently. At any rate, she goes to the police station and asks why we filed a missing persons report, and while she is in there, the cops explained it this way. Her boyfriend called into the police station and said, where is my girlfriend? She needs to come out to the car. I'm not coming in there. Well, that pretty much confirmed the fact that she was back with him. So, she's telling me this entire time after this that she just wants to come home. She lost her job because of the DUI, and she just wants to come home, but she has no money. They have been living out of her vehicle for 4 days. She had no talk minutes, only text, which in those 4 days she could not text someone and tell them where the fuck she was. I mean, seriously. At any rate, my father has to wire her $50 so she can buy enough fuel to get home. So he wires $50 to her, and she makes it all the way to Kernersville, which is near Greensboro in North Carolina, and we live all the way in fucking Hickory. What has happened is, you would think she ran out of fuel, right? No. She and he were obviously fighting on the way here. So they stop somewhere around Greensboro, and she tells him to get the fuck out of the car, that she's done, whatever. He takes her car keys, takes her purse, busts the sunroof out on the top of her car, and takes her phone. So somehow or another she finds a phone in the middle of the night, which this is midnight by this time, and tries to call my mother, who won't wake up. Then she calls my father. He obviously answers the phone. and gets a hold of my mother. So my mother has to drive with my uncle and my cousin all the way to Kernersville, which is an hour and a half from here, in the middle of the night to get my sister because she's stranded with nothing. So now she is back at my mother's house. 2 days later, my uncle and my cousin go back. They have a key made for the vehicle and go back and get the vehicle an hour and a half from here. The vehicle, mind you, has sat in a parking lot for 2 days by this time. They go get the vehicle, open the door, and the smell alone was enough to make anyone vomit. Even with the sunroof busted out, the air circulation obviously did not get into the vehicle. It was disgusting. The car was a fucking disaster area. At any rate, my mother calls me yesterday and tells me that my sister is mad because she didn't realize that they had gone and gotten the vehicle. This is a vehicle my sister has only made one payment on, and she's had the vehicle for 4 months. My mother's paid the rest of it. So she has logically no right to even be concerned about where the car is, whatever. So my mother addresses that situation, and the entire time I'm trying to get her to press charges against this motherfucker for destruction of property. In the meantime, over the past 4 days that my sister has been recovered and home, her boyfriend has blown up my mother's phone at home and her cell phone. So I also tried to convince my mother to file harassing calls against him, which of course my mother is nowhere near as much of a fighter as I am. She goes to the magistrate, tries to file this paperwork, and they pretty much tell her, blah blah blah. So she just bitches out and doesn't do it. That's not the first time that that's happened with anything. There's numerous situations and times when she's done that. She just bitches out. She doesn't want to have to deal with it. I, of course, would have seen that shit to the very end. So she's pretty much given up, is my point. And why she let my sister move back into her house when my sister could not acquire a job? She actually did not even quit her job the appropriate way. Instead of calling them and saying, I'm not coming back to work, or I'm going to work a notice, she just leaves for Florida and is like, whatever. So now she can't get that job back. She has no vehicle, she has no phone, she has no purse. Honestly, I've lived that 3 times in a row. I would never permit that shit to happen to me again. Let's see what the future holds as far as this situation's concerned. I've already told my mother to throw my sister out of her house. She doesn't feel comfortable in her own home because she's afraid that this psychotic motherfucker is going to come back and do something, and he probably will. Boy, you're going to love this one. Let's talk about the psycho roommates I had to throw out of here at the beginning of last month. Lord have mercy. They were here for all of 1 month. End of story. I could not handle anymore. From day one, and we're talking, these people are from California, but they certainly did not act like it. This guy who looked like he fell out of the ugly tree and hit every fucking branch, and then like an entire quarry of rocks when he hit the ground. So fucking ugly, it was unbelievable. Disgusting as hell. His wife, stereotypical hippie. The bitch had dreadlocks. Their room smelled like someone had pissed in it on a daily basis. Disgusting. Absolutely just filthy disgusting. Biggest stereotypical hippies you will ever meet. Or could ever possibly imagine. So, the first week they were here, everything was fine. Except the fact that I started smelling a rat. Not just urine, but a rat too. They decided to start selling drugs and trying to hide the shit out of my house. There are people, it was a stereotypical drug house environment starting a week after they got here. There were people coming in and out of my house at all fucking hours of the day and night. And I do mean constantly. It was a constant flow of traffic through my house. That's a red flag right there. So I started to become extremely suspicious. And I approached the subject and told them they had better not ever fucking sell drugs out of my house. And they said that they were not doing that, which I knew was a lie. Moving on. The second week that they were here, they started to blare music, make messes throughout the house. And when I say messes, I mean these motherfuckers, when they came here, brought an entire RV. And it was almost as if they took everything out of the RV and crammed it into the house. You could not walk through my house because there was so much shit. Clothes, furniture, just a chaotic mess. It looked like a fucking tornado had gone through every room in this house and just thrown clothes and furniture everywhere. It was a disaster. Well, I addressed that situation. They said that they would clean it up. Well, they said a whole bunch of shit that never fucking happened. They weren't selling drugs. Yes, they were. They would clean up their mess. No, they wouldn't. Honey, these people never fucking slept. I'm telling you, never slept. And it was pure chaos. I would not wish that shit on my worst fucking enemy. So, one night they decide that they're going to get in a fight, and they're screaming through the house, waking up everybody in the house, and they woke me up, which is a fucking mistake. I was so fucking livid that I walked out of my bedroom door and placed myself into the argument with them and told them that I was at the top of my fucking lungs. They had until the 1st of the month to get their shit and get the fuck out of my house and off of my property. It was a fucking nightmare. Of course I was called every name in the book. Bitch, cunt, all that. I don't even care. I know that they woke me up, and my own mama don't wake me up when I'm sleeping. So, little by little, as they're moving their shit over the course of the next 2 weeks, my stuff comes up missing. Honey, they stole every fucking pot in this house, half of the pans, every cup that we had that was made of everything but glass. They didn't take any of the glass cups, only the plastic ones, or the styrofoam ones, or whatever. Food came up missing. They were in and out at all hours of the day and night. Again, the front lawn was filled with clothes and debris, furniture. instead of it being inside the house, they brought that shit outside of the house. So then they disappear for like 2 days. And I have a friend come over here and move their shit into their RV, which they had left here. That way all their shit was out of my house. And off of my fucking front lawn and front porch. So he comes over here and moves all their shit into the RV. Well, then they come over here and have the fucking audacity to ask me where some of their stuff is, that it had been stolen. I said, nobody stole any of your shit. It's all in that fucking RV that needs to be moved off of my property before I have it towed. Well, that was an argument just waiting to fucking happen, and that's exactly what the hell it turned into. Oh, my stuff's been stolen. Well, then the motherfuckers decided to start communicating threats. Which, I had to pull out all the stops when I started that shit. I do not respond well to threats. I'm sure you can imagine that. Of any kind. A threatening personality, a threatening demeanor, threatening words. I do not respond well to that. I suffer from very serious post-traumatic stress, and the worst thing that you can ever possibly do is make me feel threatened. Or try to threaten me. So, I told them to get their shit and get the fuck off my property. End of story. You know, more time left. You know, get the fuck out. So, ultimately, they ended up moving all their shit and being gone, done, and said with by... They still had a week left, which I took away simply because of their threatening tones and threatenings of violence and all this. I'm telling you that, let's talk about his wife for a second. This bitch was pregnant. Ugly. I don't know why or how anybody would knock her up. Of course, he's so fucking ugly. At least she wasn't completely unfortunate looking. But this bitch was so nasty. She did not shave her legs. She did not shave her armpits. She did not shave her vagina. She only took baths like once a week, and that's stretching it. That's actually me trying to be nice and say at least she took a bath once a week. No, no. I don't think she ever took a bath. She never brushed her teeth. The crazy part is she would brag about that shit. Oh, I love hair on all over my body. Oh, this, that, and other. Just as nasty as you can be. This bitch took a pair of her boyfriend's socks and wore them around, and until they stunk to the point. She was what she calls a call girl. Why anybody would pay her for sex is fucking beyond me. A, the bitch was pregnant. Let me get back to the socks, because I tend to skip subjects. She wore these socks around for like a week, because this guy liked to smell dirty feet. I'll let that sink in for a second. She said that when she got to his house, that her feet did not stink bad enough for him. So, he did not pay her. First of all, that makes me want to throw up in my own mouth. Just the disgustingness of that. To each his own, though. If you want to smell dirty feet, that's your fucking issue. Whatever. Personally, I like hygiene. And I mean immaculate hygiene. I want your ass to be clean. I want my ass to be clean. I do not want any kind of fucking funky smell coming off of a man. Or myself. Or a woman. Or anyone I associate with. I smell that shit like a fucking Doberman Pinscher. I don't want to smell it. In any way, shape, or form. At any point in time. Past, present, or future. So anyhow, this bitch, the reason I know her pussy had hair all over it is due to the fact that when she would sit down outside to try to hang out with my other roommates and I, she would always wear skirts. And the motherfucker, she would pull her skirts up to pussy level, I guess to let it air out. And that motherfucker was so hairy and nasty looking, I'm telling you. It had like lint and shit like that in it. I mean, come on. Even if you don't shave downstairs, it should not look that fucking bad. Just disgusting all the fucking way around. It looked like they lived out of a fucking cave. And that's pretty much how they acted when they rented this room, was like it was a fucking cave. And they would come out and see sunlight every so often. But for the majority of the time, they were stuck in their cave. That was the biggest fucking nightmare I have ever been around. There's so much shit that these fucking people do. Honey, they would throw food. They would cook a meal. And my cat likes to beg people for food anytime he hears a dish move. Because everyone around here now feeds him. He knows better than to pull that shit with me. But anytime they would do anything, he would be right there. These motherfuckers would throw fish bones. I went in there one morning and there was a whole row of fish bones with literally a fish head with his eyes wide open, attached together, that they had just thrown in the fucking floor, and it had obviously sat there overnight because they hadn't cooked anything since the night before. And of course I didn't leave my room because I didn't want to be around these fucking people. I am honestly surprised I did not catch hepatitis from being around these fucking people. When they left, when I threw them out, I literally cleaned the floors with pure bleach. Then, after that dried, I went back and cleaned the floors with pure ammonia just to make sure that everything was fucking dead. I washed the walls down, then repainted them. Excuse me. No, I wouldn't wish a roommate like that on anyone. Or roommates like that on anyone. Getting back to the point there about what I said about her being pregnant. After they were here for about 2 weeks, I started to notice, like when I was washing dishes, since no fucking body else does it, that the back of my teaspoons were black. Like someone had stuck a lighter to them. Which is exactly what the fuck was happening. Because I didn't realize it at the time. I thought somebody may have just left it on the stove or something like that. No. After about the 5th or 6th spoon turning up like that, I just threw things in the trash. I wasn't going to use that after they've cooked up whatever the hell it is you cook up in a spoon. No. Then I find out that they're on heroin. This bitch is pregnant. Okay? And she's still a call girl. She's doing heroin. She chain smokes. She drinks. She's doing all kinds of other fucking drugs. I swear to God, she was on LSD every single day. It's not a lie. They had one of those fume new cigarettes that they put crystal meth in and smoked. Who knows what else they put in the fucking thing. I'm just glad I got rid of these motherfuckers. It's that simple. But she is pregnant, having sex still with everybody but her husband. And her husband knows about this shit, or boyfriend, or whatever the fuck he is. Or was. She's still having sex and bragging about it. Trying to get my other roommates and I to be call girls with her. If a man walked through the door, whether she knew them or not, even some of the guys that I was talking to at the time, she would hit on them and try to get them to sleep with her and her husband. They obviously have this open relationship of some kind, which is It was a fucked up situation. Anything bad that could have happened or that you could possibly imagine happening happened with these people around. The only exclusion I think that I could add to that was probably murder. I never saw them commit that. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I would love to hear comments on what exactly you think about that whole situation. I'm open to any kind of suggestion. Or any comment. I am so glad I got rid of those fucking people. I mean, it's unreal. It's absolutely unreal. Okay, everybody, I've rambled for long enough, even though it's been forever since I've made a video. I'm going to have to wrap this mess up. I will try to make another video soon. I am going to split this one up into 2 parts, and the reason for that being is because people have short attention spans. So, there you have it. Love all you guys. If there's a boyfriend out there for me, inbox me. If there are anybody that out there, if there is anyone out there that wants to be friends, inbox me. I'm a very open-minded person. Do not hesitate to contact me with positive and negative feedback or whatever. I get negative feedback sometimes. Admittedly, it is significantly less than the positive feedback, but inbox me with anything.